Elisabeth Rohm is a woman on the move. From her roles on Law and Order and American Hustle to her circuit training gym in Los Angeles, she's always in motion. Somehow, we got the actress to sit still for a couple of minutes to talk to us from the Fox 411 LA studio. Welcome, Elisabeth.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
So happy to be with you today.
You're working with the American Heart Association in an effort to educate Americans on using hands-only CPR. What exactly is that?
Well, I mean, what I'd really like to encourage is that people become certified in CPR, because coming from my background where in my family I lost my mom when she was 60 years old, and
wow.
I really feel as if, you know, my stepfather had been trained in CPR. He perhaps, not definitely, but possibly could have saved her life. And
wow.
I have a long relationship with the American Heart Association because of, you know, having lost some very significant family members. So we were just in Washington, D.C., and we were signing an agreement with China. The American Heart Association was to encourage people to be CPR trained, legit, really trained, and to also, the agreement was very moving because it was also to share science and medical information about cardiovascular disease. So the American Heart Association is definitely on the move to, you know, implement some significant changes in that education and preparedness of CPR. So that is very exciting and personally moving to me.
Thank you for sharing that, and what a amazing story to share with other people and inspire them to get certified.
Yeah.
Rose McGowan recently called out Hollywood for being sexist on a social media post. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but do you think she made a point?
I really wasn't aware of that. I don't, particularly having gone to Sarah Lawrence and being raised by some really strong women, I feel very comfortable, you know, and very respected, and I think respect, a lot of it comes from respecting yourself. So I don't know much about that incident, but I do think that progress always has a way to go. You know, we always have a lot more progress to make and a lot more awareness, and you know, being the mother of a 7-year-old girl, you know, I truly believe that progress and statements and the courage to speak the truth they're going to change her generation in the ways that ours were.
It's definitely, we're definitely evolving all the time, and thanks to women like you too for forging a clearer path for the generations ahead.
Yeah, I think it's just better to do it and be it. You know, I think that we can sometimes say so much, but it's better to just actually, you know, to actually be that person.
Be a woman of action.
Absolutely.
You appeared on Lifetime's A Haunting, actually one of my favorite shows, and you were discussing your experience with a childhood ghost. Did you always believe in ghosts, or did this experience on that show make you a bona fide believer?
No, I have to say that I genuinely did not, and that was a really bizarre experience. But you know, one doesn't know. You know, like they're mysteries, and but strange things go bump in the night. You know.
Well, I saw you got emotional on the show, and we actually had her here, Kim Russo. And I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, does she really feel ghosts? Is it just you have an emotional experience because you're supposed to feel something? So I'm not sure, but you were there.
She was pretty intense, I have to say, you know, and it was fascinating to meet her for sure, on and off screen. So we can leave it at that. I think a lot of to even just go back to the American Heart Association. I mean, for me, having lost a mom at, you know, a very young age, and then my mom's sister also passed away from heart disease at 67. Again, another case where, you know, not to blame, or just it's unfortunate that people aren't CPR trained, but my uncle wasn't CPR trained in the household, you know, to deal with the crisis that happened in that, you know, in that moment there in their home. And on the flip side, my father at 40, he had a heart attack, and he had a triple bypass because someone did give him CPR in time.
Wow.
And is living a very vibrant, healthy life. So, you know, again, I think that, you know, when you've lost people at a young age like I have, you definitely are empowered, like we talked about in DC, to take that pain and that sadness and really drive it into something positive. I think any parent that's lost a child, any child that's lost a parent, any husband or wife that's lost their beloved, you know, I think you take all of that energy and you put it into change and you put it into making a difference for others, because what we're promoting is a happy, healthy life for many people.
Right, right. And you've challenged a lot of your trials and tribulations with getting pregnant as a writer, sharing your experience. Can we expect any books from you in the future?
You know, at the time, writing about infertility really felt like a call to action, because I felt like women of the reproductive generation didn't know that at 30 they should check their hormone levels and their fertility reserve, because we're blessed and we're lucky to be able to go to college and have careers and, you know, fall in love with who we want to fall in love with, not because we feel we have to be an MRS, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, time is not always on our side, and education and knowing about your body. I wanted to be an advocate for women, you know, between the ages of 30 and 40 to really know what test to ask for, so they didn't walk into a brick wall, kind of like my personal experience.
Yeah.
So I guess if there's another meaningful story to tell, I'll try to tell it.
Well, you're telling a very meaningful story today, so thank you for joining us and getting the word out about hands-only CPR.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For more on Elisabeth Rohm, follow her on Twitter at Elisabeth Rohm. And for more on hands-only CPR, go to heart.org.